Have you ever had dreams or goals that seem to be fading away? Maybe because of a mistake that you made, or maybe just because of circumstances of life. And you just feel like those dreams and those goals are just getting further and further out of reach. Well, you know what? If those dreams or goals have been inspired by the Lord, they are still possible to attain to. And we don't have to give up on our dreams and our goals, or to think that God will never forgive us for something maybe we've done wrong. I'd like to talk about two characters in the Bible today that kind of fit into that category, and we'll see what happened to them in the end. Hi, I'm John Kuert, the pastor at Alpha Assembly in Clarion, Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining me once again for another heart-to-heart talk. That's what these are, that are designed to come from my heart to yours with some encouragement or some blessing or some challenge, or just to lift you up. And I pray that it will exactly do that. And so I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you've checked it out today. Well, let's look at what I was going to say here. God spoke to Joseph in the Old Testament as a young boy through a dream and a vision regarding his future. And he couldn't understand it at all at the time. But he knew that he knew that God had some purpose in it, and he knew that it had great significance. He knew that the Lord had a destiny for his life. However, before it happened, before that really came to pass, and it ultimately did, there were 13 years of waiting because of rejection by his family, because of pain, because of sorrow, and no doubt questioning God's faithfulness. His life was all but a life of influence and impact as a prisoner and a slave. And no doubt he wondered whether that dream was simply some vain imagination. Well, turns out it actually came to pass because Joseph kept faithful to the Lord. He never gave up. He always believed that God was Jehovah Jireh, and somehow he would provide what was needed for him in each and every circumstance that he found himself in. Well, David was another. He must have felt the same when he was anointed king over Israel as a young man, only to spend years of fleeing from King Saul. God's preparation for greatness is often filled with difficulty. God's more concerned about developing the inner life of his servants. And that inner life can only be prepared by removing all self-confidence and replacing it with God confidence. God confidence is only developed in the furnace of life. And then, of course, David made some pretty big mistakes, and actually more than mistakes. They were very terrible sins. But God was able to help him through that and overcome that. And in the end, God says David is a man after my own heart. So both these stories are encouraging, I think, because sometimes the circumstances of life can kind of interfere with what we feel that we want to do or what God wants to do through us. And sometimes it can be through sins, mistakes that we make. And maybe the Lord is proving his word in your life. Perhaps he's using circumstances and events to move you into a place of patient waiting as he puts you in the place that he desires for you. And this is the place where the foundations of your soul mature. So if you're in that kind of frame of mind or that position in your circumstances right now, maybe you feel like circumstances have just overwhelmed you in a negative way and interfered with what you want to do or what God wants you to do. Maybe there's been something that you did that you feel God can't forgive you. Well, He can. There's nothing that you can do that will make God stop loving you. And there's nothing that you can do that will cause God to ultimately, totally reject you. No, it doesn't happen. So I hope and pray that you will just look to the Lord and trust Him. Keep trusting Him. Keep pressing on. Keep praying. And keep claiming the promises of His Word, because they really are true. And I'm thankful for how God has worked in my life. I've failed Him many times, but I'm thankful for all that He has done. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for joining me once again. As I said, I'm John Kuert, the pastor at Alpha Assembly. We would invite you to come by and stop and see us sometime at the church. We would love to have you there at 499 Greenville Pike in Clarion, Pennsylvania, just down from the Clarion University. Well, God bless. Have a great day, and Lord willing, we'll see you again soon. Bye.